Bernie was the first to react. Grasping his pendant, he funneled his strength into it once more. Then the pendant itself morphed, changing shape and turning into a spear. I've never shown you this before, but spear combat's actually my specialty. Let me give you a little show before you die. After contemptuously declaring that to us all, he dropped down low and readied himself for combat. Then, without any spellcasting, he invoked some magic on his spear. This was Thunder Rain, a lightning-type magic ranged attack, essentially, but all its energy was focused entirely on that spear. Pretty neat move, for sure, but not as much of a threat as I was imagining. Benimaru fought back, infusing dark flame into his own blade. The black flames entwined themselves around the crimson sword, giving off an enigmatic sparkle. Then they both acted simultaneously. I thought Bernie was only a magic user, but his spear skills were incredible. All that bragging earlier really wasn't just for show. Still, though, I was able to follow his movements with ease. What bothered me, though, was that predict future attacks still hadn't activated for me. Which meant... Report. The subject Bernie's skill is preventing any interference. Ah, I thought so. There was probably some kind of block on Jiwu, too, that prevented me from keeping up with her moves earlier. Benimaru and Bernie were waging a pretty even battle. I saw no distress at all on Benimaru's face. He was keeping up with Bernie just fine. Bernie, meanwhile, was starting to look a tad irritated. Got some fight in you, huh? You're certainly a disappointment. Benimaru's reply made Bernie visibly scowl. How's a monster get off saying that to me? You gonna keep saying that once you get a taste of this? With that shout, Bernie spun his spear around and attempted to get out of Benimaru's range. But Benimaru wasn't about to let him. He easily closed the distance at once, expertly anticipating his moves. And the way he controlled his dark flame. He wasn't letting that stuff sweep him away at all. It was truly his own to handle, and I was amazed by it. The unique stillborn leader granted him complete control over his own power, and you couldn't not have been impressed by it. Well, wow. Lem just tell you right now, trying to fight power that strong's just suicide, alright. And Rimuru's even stronger than that, so maybe try not to mess around with me so much going forward, okay? Sure thing, Masayuki. I could hear Masayuki and Jinrai talking behind me. Personally, I had been using Uriel's absolute defense to protect them both from any stray bullets or I suppose, stray explosive shockwaves. But enough about the pair behind me. I was more concerned about how Benimaru's fight would turn out. Apparently Bernie's finisher required him to be a certain distance away from his target to work. Benimaru, meanwhile, was the very picture of calm composure, coolly cornering Bernie and ever so gradually starting to land real wounds on him. In the face of Benimaru's onslaught, Bernie found himself thrown off balance. That momentary opening allowed Benimaru to slash him down with his dark flame-infused blade. That should have been fatal, but Bernie just smirked at him. You can't beat me. His face was bright as the sun, as if being cornered up to now was just a front like he'd anticipated all this, or that we were all dancing in the palm of his hand, even. It was clear what had happened. Only an ultimate skill can counter an ultimate skill, and thanks to this ironclad rule, Benimaru's attack was cancelled out. Even worse, whatever damage it did deal, Bernie promptly cast recovery magic to heal up. At this rate, the only way for Benimaru to win was with a killing blow. As Benimaru was put in that tight spot, Chloe was facing an unexpectedly tough bout of her own. In terms of sheer ability, Chloe was by far the best, but Jiwu, a specialist at striking her foes' weak points, didn't even try to wage a typical sword fight against her. But hey, unlike Benimaru, Chloe's got an ultimate skill, right? If she was more powerful than I was, I didn't think she was about to lose to Jiwu. So I didn't pay them particularly close attention, assuming that everything was cool with Chloe, but apparently things weren't gonna go that easy. By the time Benimaru was thrown on the defensive, Chloe was facing some real trouble as well. You sure love scampering away from me, huh? She said to Jiwu. Of course. Your sword's too dangerous. I have a hunch it could penetrate my defenses. Jiwu was cautious. She was facing an unknown in Chloe, and she kept her head as she tried to deal with her. Chloe's absolute severance was a unique skill, but for some reason, it boasted so much power that you could feasibly call it an ultimate if you wanted to. You know running around all day won't beat me, don't you? I can't deny that. But that's not the problem. I'm not here to win. I'm here to protect Bernie. And once he kills that ogre, we're both going to kill you next. I wasn't about to take that sitting down, but then Jiwu started to get real tricky with me. Even worse, Jiwu was asking for Bernie's assistance. We've got too much unexpected trouble, Bernie. This woman's a lot more dangerous than I thought. She's too much to deal with alongside the Demon Lord Rimuru at the same time, so I want to play it safe. I need you to help me attack Labyrinth City to keep him from intervening. Understood. I'll give you a hand when I'm able. With Bernie joining in the pot shots, that immediately doubled my burden. Masayuki and Jinrai had resurrection bracelets, so they'd be fine even in the worst case scenario. But Labyrinth City was packed full of unwitting citizens. This was meant to be a safe space for them, and they wouldn't all be wearing bracelets at all times. The adventurers evacuated in here would have each had one, but not your average goblin on the street. Good thing, then, that Chloe came here in time to help us out. If it were just Benimaru and me here, we might have been defeated long ago. Still, though, I thought of all these guys as little more than roadies for Masayuki, but they had some wild hidden abilities. In a way, the fact that they had deceived me for so long showed just how good they really were. Regardless, I'd say we were in a pretty dire situation right now. In addition to everything else, my thought communication with Rammers was cut off, so we were now forced to overcome this assault all by ourselves. And I guess Chloe could sense my anxiety, because she chose that moment to take a gamble, and that led to an unforeseen blunder. If that's how it is, time to pull something out of my sleeve. If she had something to get us out of the situation, I'd really love to see it, right about now. But for some reason, I had a bad premonition about it. For a single moment, the world went dark on me. All movement stopped, and I felt like someone had tied me up with rope. Unable to comprehend what happened, I realized I had experienced this feeling some time before. It was when Guy and Chloe were fighting, I think. Report. The subject Chloe Albert's life energy is confirmed to be falling. She appears to have failed to control her skill. This was how having time stopped felt, I realized. Just as I did, Raphael spat out a warning, and then I noticed Chloe was back in child form. Whoa. Chloe. Oh, no way. This power is too inefficient for me to handle right now. I told you it was too hard to control for long periods of time. I didn't know what happened, but it was clear Chloe's trick up her sleeve failed big time. Even worse, it also gravely compromised Chloe's ability to fight. I guess she couldn't fully control Yog-Sothoth after all. Yo, Chloe, you okay? I might be in a little trouble. I can go back to my original form, but it'll take a while before I'm my usual self again. She sounded frustrated through the thought communication. But at least things weren't completely dire. Chloe wasn't out of the battle permanently, which was a great relief. I don't know what you were struggling to do, but you're wasting your time. You can't even figure out your own strength. You're even more of a shambles than I thought. Ha ha ha. Well, that's just who she is. You were just being too careful, Jiwu. Jiwu and Bernie exchanged chuckles over Chloe's mistake. But just then, a voice boomed in my mind like a message from the heavens. Report. Analysis of the enemy's skills complete. That was fast. It still hadn't wrapped up Chloe's Yog-Sothoth yet, but Bernie's and Jiwu's ultimate skills were apparently a piece of cake by comparison. So what's up? Lay it on me. Report. The subjects Bernie and Jiwu share a great number of similarities in abilities, to the point that they can be considered virtually identical. Unique skills are just that, skills born from one's personal individuality, and ultimate skills are born when a unique skill is brought past its set limits. But the fact that both of their skills are so similar indicates that. Are you saying Bernie and Jiwu borrowed their power from somebody? Affirmative. The possibility is believed to be very high. I see. An ultimate skill borrows a lot of its characteristics from the person possessing it, and, while both were showing great obstruction and concealment skills, neither was using their power for anything beyond that. I was on the lookout this whole time, thinking they were hiding something, but it looked like they weren't. Affirmative. They're demonstrating absolute superiority over magic and unique skills, as well as complete concealment of their own powers. These are the powers that have been loaned to the subject Bernie and the subject Jiwu. Calculating backward from their energy levels, neither are in any position to exercise more powers than these. So I was correct when I figured there was nothing left. You never do know how things will turn out until they're over, I thought as I looked at the smiling Bernie and Jiwu. Benimaru, Chloe. I found the secret to their power. They're nasty opponents, but they're not unbeatable. I've got an idea along those lines, but can you guys hear me out? They both agreed without a second thought. Of course. If I could get a good slash in with my sword, I'd have won this long ago. But he's a defensive specialist, and it's incredibly annoying. Benimaru must have been prepared to keep fighting like this for a long while to come, in order to keep himself from losing. I believe in you, too, Rimuru. I want to make up for that mistake, so if you have a winning plan, I'm game for it, no matter what. Chloe was up for this, too. Unlike Benimaru, her fight was one she could have won if she wasn't in such a hurry. Okay, here's the deal. I want to get Benimaru and I connected with the soul corridor. That way, I can lend him some of my powers. I'd be glad to borrow them. It's somewhat embarrassing to ask for your help here, Sir Rimuru, but anything beats being defeated. I promise I will bring you victory. Benimaru gladly agreed. That was typical of him, practicality always came ahead of pride. Besides, if our opponents were tapping into borrowed power, too, I didn't see any reason to be ashamed of it. With that in mind, I applied absolute severance to Benimaru's sword. This boasts pretty much the same performance as Chloe has access to. It's essentially the reverse of absolute defense, so both might be cancelled out when clashed against each other, but against Bernie, this ought to work well enough. So that took care of Benimaru. Now for Chloe. Chloe. Chrono. Listen to me. If you can keep on buying time for us, Benimaru's gonna beat Bernie, I promise. After that, here's how you'll deal with Jiwu. For her, we take the opposite pattern. Chloe was back in adult form, but far from her usual self strength-wise. It was better to take a safe approach with her to ensure we could seal the deal. She merely had to survive until Benimaru won, and all would be well. That was my idea, but... Whoa, wait a minute. I'm not about to lose here or anything. If it's one-on-one, I'm positive we can win. She's right, Rimuru. Yog-Sothoth kinda fell through our fingers there, but if we get serious with this battle, we're not gonna lose. Chloe and her alter ego were both eager enough. I expected that from them, so I was hardly surprised. So I decided to make another suggestion. Okay. Then I have one condition. What? Use Yog-Sothoth one more time. I want this victory to be perfect for you. Huh. Like, you can stop time for a really tiny little bit, but it's too short to work on Jiwu, right? It seemed to me that Chloe was in full control of her skills, as long as she didn't go all reckless with them. I'll help you out this time, okay? I'll help with the calculations and stuff, and you can try it again. Well, if you say so. I'm not complaining. You're going to open your computational domain to us. We ought to be able to control it then, definitely. Chloe and Chronos said yes to the offer. They looked a little anxious still, but... so was I. This was Raphael's idea. After all, can you blame me for wondering if this would actually work? Then Chrono raised another issue. But I'm still not sure there's enough energy. I can get into combat form, but I haven't recovered enough to stop time yet. Even if your aid makes it more efficient, the current Chloe won't be able to use the skill right at all. I was kinda wondering about that, too, actually. I knew I was planning to lend them my power and stuff, but would that suffice? Affirmative. It is not a problem. Good. Nice to get a firm yes there. I'm sure it's got some kind of great plan, so I'll stop bothering it for details. That won't be a problem. If you don't have enough, I'll back you up. Or Raphael would anyway. But it's not worth explaining everything here, so I'll just take this opportunity to look way cool instead. That was enough to secure Chrono's agreement. Alright. I'll sign on, then. Time to show these two what they've got coming. So we had a plan. It was time for the counterattack.